श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ॐ ब्रह्मानन्दं परमसुखदं केवलं ज्ञानमूर्तिं द्वन्द्वातीतं गगनसदृशं तत्त्वमस्यादिलक्ष्यम् एकं नित्यं विमलमचलं सर्वधी साक्षिभूतं भावातीतं त्रिगुणरहितं सद्गुरुं तं नमामि, सद्गुरुं तं नमामि. So the scriptures give us not just a daily planner, they also give us a life plan. So we were discussing the daily plan. Everyone gets up in the morning, but you get up with a difference. And all the normal spiritual practices that we do, we understand what it is. Yesterday I told you we were given a choice in the spiritual practices. Either get up in the morning and do this or that or this or that. But unfortunately what happened? We thought the choice was between doing and not doing. Not the choice between doing this or doing that. And why was a choice given to us? Sometimes choice is a problem to people. When is choice a problem? When you are confused. When you don't understand what you need, then it's a problem. See, when you are really small, you are not given choice. Is it true or not? Are you given a choice in subjects when you enter into school? You study this. Can you question when you are in school, like you say 2 plus 2 is equal to 4. Why is 2 plus 2 equal to 4? The teacher says 2 plus 2 is 4 because it is 4. That's it. What logic can you give? You can try and explain, but it's too small to understand big logic. So what do? It is like that because it is like that. You might give an explanation which is very, very basic, which really doesn't stand to much logic. Now the same child, when he grows up, maybe becomes a PhD student in mathematics, can question his teacher and say 2 plus 2 and probably prove that 2 plus 2 is not equal to 4. Isn't it true? That's allowed, that's fine, it's encouraged. But when he is small, he says, no, A, how do you write A? You write A like that. No, but why can't I write it differently? Because you can't. At that time, do you give big explanations to them? Yes. Should you? Okay, when you were small, I'm talking about all those who are above the age of 40. For when you all were small, okay, 35. I saw a few faces going, okay, 35. When you were small, were you given a choice? At least till, let's say, 4 or 5 years of age. You want to wear this or you want to wear this? Were you given a choice? No. Clothes were put on you, bas. That's it. Right? They were put. And did it really matter at all? Now when you think of it? Did it matter? Bolo na. At that age, based on what would you have made a choice, if at all? Now your kids, 2 years, you say, baby, what do you want to wear? Baby say, I don't like this. I like this. And then so proudly the parents say, she's got a mind of her own. Huh? This is only based on likes and dislikes. There's no big buddhi being used. There's no intellectual thinking behind making a decision. Are you understanding that or not? Because it's not developed. That faculty just has not developed. It's not almost non-existent at that time. But we say, no, you have choice. Choice is when your intellect has developed. Then you say this or this. Then you think, no, this will be this. No, this has advantage. No, this. And then you make a decision. Have you all understood? So we were given a choice of spiritual practices. You can get up and do japa or puja because you will be able to think and decide for yourself what is best suited for your prakriti, for your tendencies. That's why choice in the forms of God. God is one, but in the Hindu culture we have how many forms which are there? I told you. Innumerable forms. God remains one. The forms are many. You choose the form that you like the best. So that's the glory of the culture, not the weakness. But many Indians don't understand this and call it a weakness. Is it true or not? Swamiji, I wish there were no choice, only one choice. No. Here we have a choice. Either you worship Krishna. That form you like, that's your Ishtadeva, Krishna. Some people love Krishna. Why? He's like me. He doesn't even stand straight. Everything is. One person said, no, I like Ganesha. Why? I've got one exactly like him. No, I like Ram. I like Hanuman. Monkey brand, my type. Yeah? So each one chooses. There are some people say, no, I don't like to worship God as a male figure. I like the what? Saraswati or Kali. There are people who love that also form. So whichever, it doesn't matter at all. So choice is given to us. Whichever is the form that you can identify with best. Whichever is a spiritual practice which you feel is very easy. It's not that everyone shall do only this and that is called religion. No. If you never go to a temple all your life, still you are a Hindu. Is it true or not? Yes or no? Yes, that's it. The choice. That doesn't mean you don't go to the temple, okay? So you have this whole range of choices. And you have a way of living your life right from morning to night also, where all the time you make every action of yours meaningful, creative, alert, elevating, inspiring, and beautiful. This is what we were talking about as Sadachar, the art of right living. Now, a few of the practices that a lot of you have seen or have been doing, but doing mechanically without understanding, we will talk about one or two at least. Have you all seen a puja being performed? A worship? Hana bolo na. Some of you must be doing it also at home. Yes? Now let me explain the concept of it. A few other things also. They come in the way and by the by because so many misunderstandings are there. Do Hindus believe in idol worship? Yes or no? Jara jor se boli do na ek baar ha ke na. We've got this completely, totally, absolutely wrong. Hindus do not believe in idol worship. You say, Swamiji, what are you talking? I've seen you do puja yourself. We all do pujas. We all do arati for this. Every day evening you only do Jaya Jagadisha Hare and all that. What is that? No, we do not worship idols. We worship the ideal behind the idol. Will you remember that? We don't worship wood as wood, stone as a stone. We worship stone for the God that it represents. If you say Hindus are idol worshippers, then everyone who salutes the flag of their country are stick and cloth worshippers. Have you understood? When you salute the flag of a country, what are you doing? Are you saluting the stick and the cloth or the great ideals represented by the stick and the cloth? Tell me. Bolo. Have you understood this point? So are Hindus idol worshippers? We don't worship stone as stone, even though we know everything has the Lord, the truth, the absolute reality. Is there all pervading? Fine. God is all pervading, we believe. Now, if you have understood this, so when we are performing a puja, are we doing idol worship? We are worshipping the Lord represented by the idol. Now, the next question comes, is God in idols? Say something. At the most, you will be wrong in your answer. No? Nothing big thing about it. Huh? Is God in idols? Yes or no? If we say and if we believe that God is everywhere, He is of course in the idol also. But is He only in the idol? No. Will you remember this? Is God in idols? Yes. But He's not only in the idols, He's also in the idol. Are you with me? Because He's everywhere. If you say God is not in idols, you have made your God finite. A finite entity, because He's not here and He's there. That means it's a finite entity. Have you all understood that? Yes? So is God in idols? Of course He's in the idol. Can you invoke Him in the idol? Of course. That's exactly what you do. You take an idol and invoke His grace, His blessing, His strength, His power, whatever you want to call it, through that symbol or an idol. You know, very famous story of Hiranyakashipu and Prahlad. This young Prahlad believed in God being everywhere. His father says, where is your God? He never believed in the very existence of God. He says, where is your God? He says, everywhere. Is He in that pillar? Of course He's in that pillar. And that father kicked the pillar. And what happened? Bhagwan appeared as what? Narasimha. It's like that. The electrical current is everywhere in this wire. Is it true or not? Yes. If I cut the wire here, I will get a shock, right? And if I touch this, I will get a shock. It is everywhere. I can invoke it anywhere along the line. Have you understood that? I can invoke it as heat, as light, as whatever, anywhere I want. Similarly, the Lord is everywhere. I can invoke His presence, His power, His blessings, anywhere, everywhere. Then why do you need an idol? Next question. If He is everywhere, why? Many times people say, you know, those who don't want to go to temples say, God is everywhere, why do you have to go to the temple? Typical. All your youngsters would say this, right? Everywhere and all. Do you experience Him everywhere? That's the important question. If you experience Him everywhere, definitely you don't need to go to the temple. Now, why an idol? Because you know what happens when we don't understand this? Others call us pagans and heathens and God alone knows what other names they put on us. And we, yes. Why do you need an idol? Acha. Many times, you know, especially when they get engaged, then they have the photo of their fiancé in there. And then, when no one is looking, or even otherwise, no, when you put all over, you know, in your homes, no, where this is my son, you know, when he was 2 years old, all over the place, houses are plastered with pictures of your husbands and wives and children. Is it true or not? All over. Why? Oh, Swamiji, you won't understand, you're not married. When I look at that picture, it invokes love in my heart. Isn't it true? But it's a bromide paper. Isn't it true? The photograph is nothing but bromide paper. Why do you kiss a bromide paper? Swamiji, it's not bromide paper. For you, it's bromide paper. For me, it's... Have you all understood? Similarly, for someone it may be a bromide paper. For someone it may be plaster of Paris. But when you look at it, you say Krishna. Is it true or not? And all the beautiful things associated with Krishna comes to mind. So you need a symbol, you need a place, you need a actual object which invokes this beautiful feeling in your heart, and hence an idol. Are you with me? Yes? And in every religion in the world, they have it. They have a cross. The minute they see cross, they think of Jesus, right? They do have. They may not have with, you know, a person like that, but they have. They have mother and child. Then for them it symbolizes. Then the Muslims have the Kaaba. The minute they see the Kaaba, feelings are invoked. When they do the namaz, they go to the right. Why right? Because the minute here it will be north. North. No? Mecca is where? North to you, isn't it? So what would they do? They turn towards that. Why are they turning towards that? Because Kaaba comes to mind. Have you understood? You need, even though the Muslims believe that the Lord is without form, they put that direction and a Kaaba to represent the formless. Have you all understood that? Hindus believe that the Lord in ultimate reality is nameless, formless, qualityless, infinite. And yet that same nameless, formless, qualityless, infinite entity takes a form as Krishna, Rama, Shiva, etc. Have you all understood? So hence an idol. Okay, now we go to this principle of puja. See, whenever a great guest, someone honorable, someone wonderful comes to your house, is going to come to your house, what happens? First you see that the house is all ready and all toran and everything. And then whatever is there, in the cupboard. You don't open the cupboard, dare to open the cupboard. But everything is, otherwise outside it's all beautiful and decorated and flowers and everything, Then, what happens? You wait for the person to come. So this is called Purva Tayari. Whenever a puja is there, haven't you seen the previous preparations and all? Then when the person actually comes, you wait for that person. And nowadays this whole thing SMS, where have they reached, where have they reached? Or this is the, have they come here, where they must be from the, and then all this starts. So you're thinking of that person all the time. He's on the way, he's coming, he's coming. This is called dhyanam. Have you seen in the puja ceremony, first you say, Shantakaram bhujagashayanam padmanabham suresham. So whatever is the form of Lord. So dhyanam. Then the minute the person comes, and believe me, you should do, if you're not doing it in your houses here and you've forgotten culture, start it. That's the Indian culture, that's how you greet guests. Now what do? When they are coming, બોલો છો કે નથી બોલતા બોલો શું બોલો છો આવો please come with the gesture પધારીએ આઈએ please come. This is called what? Avahayami. Have you seen Pandit ji saying Avahayami? Aye. Immediately what do? Baithiye. You have a seat ready? Please sit. And as I'm saying, nahi karta hai to karo. Start. Start. Please sit. Ask. Not that you are sitting and take a seat. No, you get up. You greet them. Because a guest is what? Considered as God in our culture. You know that, no? Which is that? Atithi Devo Bhava. A guest is God. Bas. Asanam samarpayami. Then what are you supposed to do? Padayoho padyam samarpayami. Wash his feet. Oh, Swamiji, that is too much. That's why I said for a great person. Okay. Ordinary friends, no, you don't need to do that. Padayoho padyam samarpayami. Then haste, because they may have come from far away and yes, you want to use the washroom. Hath. Then mukhe achamaniyam samarpayami. Immediately, what? Pani, you give water. The first thing you give water. After that you say hot or cold or whatever, First thing is you just give water. Then you want to bathe, you want to freshen up, you want to, this. So, because they may have come from far, maybe out of town, maybe this. So, and supposing you have a very fancy jacuzzi and you have a fancy sauna and you have so many, like you're a rich person, so you have all this stuff. So it's called special bath. It's called Abhishekam Samarpayami. Have you heard that one? And then so many different, Panchamratam and all that, special bathing salts or whatever, perfumes or whatever you call them. Right? Then what do? I'm telling you because this is what you can understand and relate to, all of you. Then you vastram samarpayami, beautiful clothes you offer and ornaments. For the guest you are supposed to give all that. Bhagwan, I don't want that to happen. I don't want to call them. But this is our way of greeting them. Vastram samarpayami. Maybe emni bag mathi kadine apo emne. You take it from his bag and give it back to him, Vastram samarpayami. Make everything ready basically. Then what? Chandanam samarpayami, kumkumam samarpayami, akshatan samarpayami. Don't you all do all that? Chandan, kumkum, akshata. Then, mala. You greet with the mala, isn't it? Your flower, this. Pushpamalam samarpayami, archana. We are all doing it. But we don't understand. This is the steps, why we do it. And then, dhupam agrapayami. Dhupam is incense stick. Deepam sandarshayami, we show the light. Then Naivedyam, by the time they've got hungry, right? And then a big, huge meal. Pranaya, Swaha, Apana. Have you seen the Panditji, or you all do like that, like that? Now, please understand, this is not the way you do it. You know why they did like that? Because by mistake, when you're talking to the person, it is possible that spit may come out from your mouth. Sometimes it comes out, you don't even know. So this hand is for preventing, saying, no, this is an honored person, I can't possibly have this. So this was like that, and then you're offering the food. Have you understood? But now people don't understand, so they do like that. What is this? Pranaya Swapana, Swapana, thank you, super khavano. This is Pranaya Swaha, and with all love. Pranaya Swaha. Then, after that, you have what? And this is called Rajopachara. The best of guests have come. Oh, what can I do for entertainment? Oh, I have a home theater. What do you want to see? Isn't it? Entertainment. Now, Bhagavan doesn't need your home theater, so what do you do for him? Nritya Geetam Samarpayami. That's called Rajopachara. And then you do the what? Arati. And you offer Dakshina. Don't you have, whenever, I think maybe the elders still may be doing it. I don't know whether it's lost in the elders also. When they are about to go, then they say, Bhul chuk maaf karna. Do you all say that? If I have made any mistake or anything less in what I did, please forgive me. Do you say that? Please do that. I may have been, not so perfect in my taking care or something. Please forgive me. This is all Indian culture. Hospitality is our main thing. And not that, people ask, Tame jamsho? You should never ask like that. Will you eat? There's no will you eat. You must eat. You must. I tell you, things have deteriorated so much. People now say, my God, jamwana time mein abhi gaya. They have come at the time of food. Why can't they understand? That is not our culture. Anyone comes. In fact, if they come without asking, we feel better. Is it true or not? Without asking if they come, without telling if they come, they've just come like that, then they are considered as atithi. Atithi means without appointment they come home. That's the best. We feel very good. Oh, how nice that you have come, and you come at the right time. We are about to sit for dinner. Please join us. So this is exactly what you do in a puja. Have you understood? The steps are the same. And in the end you say, what do you say when you never bid bye, you say bye. You never do that. What do you say? In Gujarati, what do you say? Avjo. Avjo means what? You may go now, but please come back again. We never say go. In no Indian language is the word go used when you are going. It's always come. The word is what? What is it? Come back. Poite vara. Any Tamilian here? Isn't it? In every Indian language, it doesn't matter which Indian language it is, it's never jao. It is always fir padhariye. Hindi mein kya bolte hain? What do you say in Hindi? Come again. Please, welcome again. This is the way. You never say go, go. No. Come. That's the thing. Right now, temporary you may go, but please come back again. That's the way. So, if you do this, this is called puja. Okay? Now, Swamiji, why should you do all this? My dear, if you feed a street dog also every day, you start becoming fond of it and love grows in your heart, right? Even a street dog. Now you feed the Lord, you feed this. What happens? Love shall grow. Devotion shall happen. Now what is puja? One more thing I should tell before I end, then completes the topic. What is puja? The word puja means a ritual or something done with pujya bhava, with a reverential feeling is called puja. Now what is pujya bhava or reverence? What constitutes reverence? Two emotions or three put together is equal to reverence. I tell you, emotions are like mathematics. You should know how to analyze them and you'll understand. Love plus respect plus faith is equal to reverence. If you only have love and you don't have respect, you can't revere a person. Pujya bhav is not possible. If you only have respect and no love, you can't revere a person. You respect your boss but don't love him. Is it true or no? So you can't do puja to the boss. Not possible. You may love your wife but not respect her. Possible. Then you can't. But when the same object you love, same person, you love and you respect and you have faith, the net resultant feeling is called reverence. Now what happens as far as the Lord is concerned, we have respect for him but we don't have love. Is it a fact or not? Love is for our dog and respect is for God. Now what do? Many times people say, Swamiji, I sit with a japamala, I sit with the rosary, but I'm not able to concentrate. Please remember, the mind naturally gravitates towards the object it loves or hates, and very likely towards the object it hates. Okay? Is it true or not? Whenever, parents say, Swamiji, my child doesn't concentrate, or children also come, Swamiji, I can't concentrate. I always ask them this question, do you have any problems in concentrating on the TV? Any problems? No problems at all. And cartoons are going on. You may pass in front of anything, nothing. Is it true or not? And the mother calls them for food. Chalo, khawa, bhook nathi lagi. I don't want to eat. I'm not hungry. And the same child, the minute he sits with his book to study, what happens? Mummy, I'm hungry. Is it true or not? And after some time, the mother thinks he's actually hungry. He's not hungry, he just wants to study. Then, after some time, Mummy, I'm thirsty. And then, when he's watching cartoon, hunger, thirst, nothing. Is it true or not? Automatic concentration. So similarly, that love for the Lord, and when I say Lord, you keep it anything higher, nobler, greater, that's what the Lord represents. So, will come this daily ritual when you do. Now, Swamiji, that's not my cup of tea. Fine. There are so many others, as I told you. Every act of yours can be. This is a spiritual practice. No, I don't think I can do. Oh, fine. There are so many others recommended. One is meditation. We have all just talked about it. Meditation is also a spiritual and a fantastic spiritual practice. Nowadays, in the name of meditation, they only sit and do some pranayama. And they call that meditation. They do some breathing exercise, they sit straight, so they say they are meditating. Inside, all agitation only must be happening. I tell you, I've seen a lot of times. Or a little bit of calmness, a little 1 or 2 seconds. And then, in the name of meditation, because it's become a product, I told you, instead of a lifestyle, it's become, and the minute it becomes a product, all the problems of a product will come to it. Then you want to sell a better brand. You understand? All this nonsense goes on in the name of meditation. So, meditation is, this is, sitting like that is not called meditation, that's called sitting. Have you understood? Bolo. Because if you do like that, what are you doing? Meditating. Arey Bapa, you are not meditating, you are sitting. This is a posture. This is not meditation. Will you remember that? Yes or no? This is a posture. Sitting, this is a posture. You close your eyes. Inside what is happening, Bhagavan only knows. So therefore, meditation is nada. You want me to tell you quickly what is meditation? Yes? But it's a quick thing, so you can't be complete. I'm not giving you any fancy ideas, I'm giving you a complete knowledge of meditation. What is meditation? Meditation is the effortless awareness of one's true nature. That's the actual definition of meditation. Dhyanam nama swarupasya sahajam bhanam uchyate. Meditation is the effortless awareness of one's own true nature. To be what you actually are. That is meditation. To remain in your own true nature. Effortlessly. That is called meditation. What is your own true nature? I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am the pure self. Let me explain this as quickly as possible. You see the mic, all of you? Yes? Come on. A little thinking never harms anyone. You see the mic? No? Please keep your eyes open. Yes. How do you see the mic? Eyes are open, and therefore you see the mic, right? Now, the eyes are the seer, and the mic is the seen object. Isn't it true? The seer is different from the seen. The seer can see the seen, but the seen cannot see the seer. First principle is seer is different from the seen, right? I see the mic. I am not the mic. I see the mic. So the eyes see the mic. The eyes are different from the mic. The eyes can see the mic, but the mic cannot see the eyes. Is that okay? Can we go ahead? Right. Now, how do you know that your eyes see? If your mind is not behind the eyes that see, the eyes can't see. Agreed? Yes or no? If your mind is wandering, your eyes may be open, but you can't see. Okay? That's how accidents happen. Eyes are all gone. So therefore, what happens? The mind knows what the eyes see, right? Yes or no? Come on. The mind is the knower or the seer of the eyes. Have you understood the word seer? Don't understand a seer as seeing in the eyes. The mind is the knower or the seer of the eyes. The knower is different from the known. The seer is different from the seen. The seer knows the seen, but the seen cannot know the seer. Your mind knows what the eyes see, but the eyes don't know what the mind thinks. Is it okay? No problem? Can we go ahead? No. How do you know what you think or what is in your mind? How do you know? Acha, let me put it this way. Do you understand what I talk? Say yes or no. Do you understand? You can say no also, it's fine. So, Amiji, I don't understand a word you talk. Fantastic. You don't understand? No. Who doesn't understand? I don't understand a word that you are speaking. So, where is the understanding or the not understanding happening? Here. And who knows? I know. Is it true or not? Don't you say that? The knower is different from the known. I know. The mind is a known entity, and I am the knower of the mind. Are you understanding? This is a little difficult to understand, but at least if you can think about it a little more, go back home and also reflect on this. So, the seer is different from the seen. The knower is different from the known. I know my mind. I am different from the mind. Today, the mood is sad. Tomorrow, it may be glad. It may be mad. These are different things happening here, and I know all the different fluctuations of my mind. Is it true or not? I am happy, I am sad, I am glad, whatever it is. I know the state of my mind, but the mind doesn't know the I that knows it. Is it okay? Yes? Now we are talking about this I. What is your true nature? Who am I? I am that pure self, which is called Sat Chit Ananda in our language. That I. To remain effortlessly in that self is called meditation. Okay? For that, all these things sitting and this, all these are all aids, but that's not meditation. Are you with me? Yes? Okay, so meditation is another, what? Spiritual practice. And I tell you the energy that you can get out of it, the real, what do you call? It's a lifestyle. Again, I told you, it's not a product. It's a, what? Lifestyle. All these are not products. They are lifestyles. Unfortunately, you and I use it as only what? So I did a course on meditation. Oh, wonderful. Now are you practicing? That was the course, Swamiji. Oh, that one also I have done. That one I did. First, I registered myself first only. New product, new soap. Have you all understood? Don't we all do that? Bolo. For us, yoga, meditation, everything is a product. And in India, it was not as a product, it is a lifestyle. Samajh mein aaya baat? The West made it into a product and we bought it from them, not even from our. Now, there is another spiritual. Now, food, eating, as I told you, every action becomes underlined by what? Something special and meaningful. Even your eating can become a spiritual practice. What? Ordinary, simple eating. How do you eat? You know, when you take the, before doing the arati, what do? You take the food and put it in the front of the Lord. And then you do the arati. And then what you get back is called what? Prasad. So whenever you give something, it becomes an offering. When you take it back, it becomes prasad. You remember? That is the attitude behind eating. What? Now, if it is prasad, what is the attitude with which you eat? When you get prasad, how do you hold your hand when you take prasad? This gesture is called svikara mudra. It's an attitude of cheerful acceptance. Will you remember this? What is it? Cheerful acceptance. And how much prasad do you say? Do you say, I want that prasad, I don't want that prasad? And if you do it, it is wrong. Will you all remember? I saw, mane anati bhavtu, mane aapo. That is very wrong. Should never do that. Prasad, whatever you get, you take it. Is it true or not? You don't say, mane 1 kilo prasad apo. You can't have that. Give me 1 kilo prasad. No. In fact, prasad is something you give everyone and then whatever is left, you take. Is it true or not? You first give it to others. And in the end, if it is even so much, that's okay. Because, and it's a cheerful acceptance as a gift from the Lord, right? That's the attitude. Give it to me. So you take it like that. You don't grab prasad. I hope you're not doing it there. And that is why the person who gives prasad, they must give. Not keep a plate like that and everyone picks it up. That is not, it's a pick up food or something like that. I hope you're doing it the right way there. This is it. The person must give and you must give it like that. Now, I remember, have you been to a place called Guruvayur in Kerala? Have you heard of a place called Guruvayur? There's a Krishna temple there, very. And Gujaratis, for them, prasad is only something to eat, isn't it? They never think that prasad can be other than something to eat. But that is not really true. Anything that comes from the Lord is called, anything that comes to your life is called prasad, okay? Now what happened? This Guju Bhai went to Guruvayur and he was given chandan, sandal paste, as prasad, a small, like round this. And he thought it was peda. So what happened? Krishna, Krishna, pat, he put in his mouth. No, chandan doesn't taste good at all. Now what will he do? I don't know what y'all would have done, but he was a devotee of the Lord. What did you? Krishna, Krishna. You understand? You don't spit out prasad. Similarly, if we have this attitude, whenever we do anything, it's an offering to the Lord. Anything, it doesn't matter. You're breathing, you're walking, you're talking, everything is an offering to. Then whatever you get in life, good, bad or ugly, is prasad from the Lord. Have you understood? And what do? Cheerful acceptance. Mirabai got poison. She says, it's not my husband that sent the poison, it's the Lord that sent the poison. And if it is from the Lord, it cannot be poison, it has to be nectar alone. The Lord is all, what? Immortal and, nectarine in nature, and I cannot accept that he can give. And what happened? That faith she drank up and it turned out to be what? You know that. You know his story, it's history. What I'm trying to say is this cheerful acceptance. Here what happens, everything, not this, not this. Like our likes and dislikes never go. In fact, we encourage likes and dislikes. Is it true or not? Prasad is an attitude of the mind by which we can get over likes and dislikes in life. Have you understood? And we're always bound by our likes. I can't like this, I don't want this, I can't stand this. Whole life goes in that. And right from childhood we encourage. We ask the small little baby who doesn't understand a word, do you like this? He says, yes. Do you like that? Don't like that. And from childhood we encourage the likes, and then they remain bound by these likes and dislikes, never able to come out of it. Is it a fact or not? Yes. How much your life is, And a person who doesn't have likes and dislikes as such, strong like that. I have to have this and I can't stand this and I must have that. What are you doing? And then it's very difficult for such people to adjust anywhere, to tolerate anything. They become so prejudicial, they become so, stubborn, and then all the time the mind is agitated. You get something you like, you don't like, whole day you jump around like that. Is it true or not? You're not able to accept things in its beauty and glory. Today it's raining. Of course it's raining. How beautiful. It's raining. And yesterday, oh, so hot. Hey, this is Mombasa. Everyone knows. But still, but why today only? And today it should not have rained. Then someone says, tomorrow it should not have rained. Why? Day after tomorrow, my daughter is getting married, so it should not. When will it rain? Everyone makes an appeal to Bhagavan. Don't let it rain today. Don't. And where will it rain? Then, when it doesn't rain, everyone prays, Bhagavan, please make it rain. Isn't it funny? So these are all attitudes. See, it's not the spiritual practice, it's the attitude with the whole thing. When it is done, it brings a drastic change in the way of looking at life, in your way of dealing with situations, etc. Okay, now we go to what is called Jivancharya. Jivancharya, a life plan. Remember? Life was divided into roughly four ashramas. You know what are ashramas? Ashrama is not a place of staying. Like that, ashrama means a place where you go and stay. A hermitage or a monastery or a... What? Everyone knows what is ashrama. Now, shrama means stress. Ashrama, a place where there is no stress. That's the meaning of it. So therefore, we go to ashrama, shanti, shanti, peace, all peace and happiness. Then, there are in life 4 stages of growth. When you are born, basically, you don't make any self-efforts as such. You're still growing. You're still not even independent in your food and everything. So, till the age of, almost 4 or 5 or 6 years, you were not sent to school in the good old days. Do you agree with me? Now, 2.5 years, the poor thing. Isn't it? 2.5 years, can't even, Mummy, I don't want to go. No, you go. No, poor thing. Swamiji, they only play. Doesn't matter. Why can't they play at home? I'm not there. Anyway, the child goes. Do you know, however much we may seem to have advanced, the concept of a diagonal line, a diagonal line does not register in the mind of a human being till the age of 4 years. Are you aware of that? So all the A's that they learn before that is only a superimposed impression. It's not really understood by the child because the concept just doesn't come in. Are you understanding that? Yes or no? How much we force. That is why they said no. Till the age of 6. That's when they went to the Gurukula. They were given the Upanayana and they entered into the first stage of life, which was called Brahmachari Ashram, a student's life. The first ashram was called Brahmacharya. And everyone went to a residential school. The richest and the poorest all went to what? And in India, as a lifestyle, there was no such you don't pay fees. Are you aware of that? There was no fees charged for education. Everyone went to the Gurukula completely. Even the king's son and the pauper's son went to the same school and completely free. Then how did they support? People supported the Gurukula. Someone said, milk will come every day from my house. Someone said, wood will come from my house, this will come from my house, that will come. Different people supported. The king, supported that Gurukula. And studies happen. 12 years, no vacation. What? Bolo. I know. We run a residential school. My God. During the school time, children, they get up early and they do their jogging and they do their prayers, they do everything. And then they go home and that 1 month, 4 kilos of weight, they come back. They get up at 12 in the afternoon, the parents, I tell you, what a mess they make. Then they come back again. Then again we have to start. For the first 3 weeks, they are not even... I know, I faced it, na? So that time, no vacation. I think it is a very good system. Anyway, it doesn't matter. 12 years, and they loved it. They enjoyed it, the best time of their life. That time of life was characterized by discipline. I've talked about, you remember my happy parenting talk? Love and discipline. The guru and the guru's wife provided all the maternal, paternal, every possible type of emotional support and intellectual kindling and all the different faculties of the intellect were, and holistic education. Don't think only in the Gurukula they learned all prayers and all that. No, a completely holistic. They even had their profession that they became proficient in every possible type, sciences. And if they had more interest, everyone stayed for 12 years. They went in at approximately 6 years, and till 18 years they were all in the Gurukula. Then someone wanted a double graduation or a graduation or a post-graduation, whatever it was, they stayed on more. And then by 24, they came out. Most of them came out of the Gurukulas. Many of them by 18 years, many of them by 24 years. Some continues to stay for a few more years, and some stayed for a lifetime when they jumped 2 ashrams and entered straight into the last ashram, which is the sannyas ashram. Have you understood? That was allowed. You could jump ashramas. That's what I did. So, otherwise you went back home, and then the first thing you did, you earned. And after you earned, you gave what is called Guru Dakshina. Yesterday, so you paid back Guru Dakshina, you offered Guru Dakshina. That is the thing. And it was not standard. Everyone shall pay so many thousand shillings to the teacher. No. Each one according to his capacity, each one according to this gave the Guru Dakshina. That this is my offering to the Gurukula. Sometimes they gave for a lifetime. They kept on giving again and again, because that's without expectation. The Guru is not going to earn his living. So simple living, high thinking was there. Then you came back home, entered the second ashram, which is called the Grihastha ashram. And from what age to what age? Approximately 25 or 24 to, they said, Grihastha ashram should continue till your child, girl or boy, gets his or her child, girl or boy. When you see your grandchild's face, you should actually retire. What? That's the time now. You retire, you can stay at home, but... So you had this very good system where... This is the second ashram, and there were a lot of responsibilities also. Dharma, Artha, Kama. You pursued your pleasures, you pursued your comforts, you got all of them, not necessary. It was not said don't have any luxuries, don't have comforts, don't have... No. But yet remember, it was the Grihastha ashram which supported the Brahmacharya ashram, Vanaprastha ashram and Sannyas ashram. So the responsibility of a householder was manifold, because he was the one who supported all the other ashrams. The very basis of society was the Grihastha ashram, the householder's life. You understand? And this system, if it doesn't exist, how will the sannyasi do his job? If the sannyasi has to go from 9 to 5 to earn his living, what is going to happen? When is he going to do his sadhanas? When is he going to do his work? Are you understanding? Many times people say, "Arey, these sannyasis are parasites to society." They don't earn their living. One person came and told me, "You became a graduate, you wasted an architecture seat." Why did you do this, that? And someone else, in India it's so competitive, someone else could have become an architect and done so much better. I said, what about so many architects who become drug addicts and die? Didn't they waste the seat? Or do something, something else they would do? So people have funny ideas about it. The sannyasi was the very what? The one who guided the entire society, did his spiritual practices, had one goal of mind in mind, and that was moksha. Are you aware of the 4 purusharthas, the 4 goals of human beings? Have you heard of dharma, artha, kama, moksha? These 4 words? Most of you don't seem to have. These are all very basic things about the Hindu philosophy or culture. I'm surprised that you must know a little more. All of us, with no exception, as we go, we have only 4. Every goal in the whole world can come into one of these 4. Indians were very good at categorization, and analysis and making it into these type of 4, and a 5th cannot be discovered. Actually, the 4 can be reduced to 1, which I can do a little later. There's only one goal. Every human being has. There is no 2 goals of anyone's life. You try and discover anyone who has a second goal than that. It's not possible. First, we break it into 4. Which are they? Dharma, artha, kama, moksha. Artha means the first thing you want is food, clothing, and shelter. The basic fundamental things of life, right? Artha. And for that you need this. Food, clothing, shelter. The very basic needs of your life. Security. Let's put it that way. Your first security is if you have food to eat, clothes to wear, and a roof over your head. Bas, that's the first foremost. If you don't have that, you won't think of anything else. Do you agree with me? Once you get that, you want a little luxury. Agreed? When your great-grandfathers came over here, just first a place to stay, right? Then food to eat. Then a roof over the, something little. Then afterwards, then they became big and all that. And now, this house is small. Let's go for a bigger house. And in this house, let's have this, let's have that, let's have. Is it true or not? If you don't have a roof, are you going to think of curtains? Are you going to think of AC and things like that? You can't. So after that comes the second purushartha, which is comfort and pleasures, which is fine. That's the second goal. Then the third goal is to better your what? Life. Not just in terms of luxury, but in terms of quality of life. Isn't it true? I want to live a meaningful, better quality life. So dharma comes into the picture. You want to do, you want to share what you have with someone else, you want to do something good for someone, you want to grow somewhere within, you want to become a better person. All this falls into dharma. And finally, at the end of the day, you all want to be happy. Yes or no? Bolo. And what type of happiness do you want? You want unconditioned, unlimited, infinite happiness. Agreed? Supposing in the morning you get this much happiness over here, and down the road there's another hall in which Aishwarya Rai and Shah Rukh Khan are coming. They are hero and heroines of Bollywood. All of you know them? Yes? What will happen? Where will you go? I won't feel bad. Swamiji, who's going to come and sit here? Aishwarya Rai, Miss Universe, the most beautiful woman in the world, our Indian. Shah Rukh Khan, Now, see, all of us with no exception want maximum happiness. Is it true or not? Maximum possible happiness. Infinite happiness, unlimited happiness, and that is the 4th goal of life. In fact, that's the only goal of life. Do you agree with me? Anyway, it doesn't matter whether you're a Hindu or a Muslim or a Christian, which country you belong to, where you come from. No exception, all of us want what? Infinite and unlimited absolute happiness. That's it. And that Purushartha is called moksha. Okay? Now, when you're a student, what is your goal? It is what? Dharma. When you are a householder, dharma, artha, kama. In the student age, earning is not there. Then in the householder, dharma, artha, kama. In the vanaprastha, the next stage of after this is retired age. That time, what is your this? You don't have artha as a goal. You no more earning. Sometimes you stop earning. So artha has gone. Kama also has gone. Dharma and moksha remain your goal. And when you become a sannyasi, what is your goal? Only one. What is that? Moksha. The attainment of the ultimate reality. the infinite bliss, your own true nature, whatever name you want to call it. So this is how life was divided. You had a whole life plan. Now don't get scared. Many of you thinking that, my God, at the end I have to become a sannyasi. I don't want that. What we must understand is the principle behind it. Not the actual sannyas. You may not become a sannyasi, you may not take to orange clothes, you may not become a monk. But you must understand that slowly the goal of your life should become like that. Have you all understood? Otherwise we keep remaining same old things we do again and again and again. I have seen people who go to these clubs when they are 80 years or 50, 70, 80 and all, and they play the same old silly childish games that they played when they were 5 and 10-year-old. You know, they have this, what is it called? Tambola. What do you call it over here? I don't know. They have the slips of paper, silly things, and then they, and what? And they say some numbers and you have to, what is it called? Tambola. You call it Tambola here also, no? So many names are there, so different places. And the same old jokes those people crack. 2 fat ladies, 88. Taka. And what a silly thing from time. Putting it. And then you get what? I got a plastic spoon today. As a, what? You brought back. Week after week after week after week you do. When are you going to grow up? Out of your? Are you understanding that or not? It's the same. And you see, even when vacations are all, what do? You go and do the same old thing you do at home. Is it true or not? You never get tired of it. All the same. બહુ મજા કરી, બહુ મજા કરી. શું કરું? ખાધું, પીધું, ઊંઘી ગયા. Isn't it? So therefore, as you grow, as you mature, as you, through life, you start thinking, what is my life for? What am I living? What is the goal? What have I achieved to now which I can say is my achievement? Have I grown inside? Have I become a better person? Have I really contributed anything to society? Or am I just one of the innumerable creatures that come into this world, just go, pat, gaya. It's like a mosquito. Mosquito comes, earns its own, you know how it earns its bread and butter? And dies, gaya. Like that, we also come and typical things, like any millions and millions of people born, marry, children, gada, gada, gaya. Just goes, what have I done till now? So these questions must come. In fact, they do come right from the childhood. Not childhood, but at least they do come. Normally when such questions come to our life, what do? Chalo chai piye. Let's forget about it. Is it true or not? Any serious questions come, we don't even want to think because it disturbs you too much. What am I doing if such questions come to your life? And you get very shaken up. Just because everything otherwise is going very smooth. Smooth means what? I'm not thinking much. That's just called smooth. If I think a little deeply, it might shake me up. Are you understanding? So therefore, what happened? But they will come. Whether you want to or not, these questions will come and you will have to answer them. So therefore, and then slowly your life, your entire life changes and you transform. You become more, everything in your life becomes more meaningful, more, fulfilling. And that's what we want in life anyway. What do we want in life? To be full and fulfilled, to be happy. End of the day, we want to be just happy. That's all we want. If we can do that, we have achieved our life's goal. Okay? So here is a quick, in fact, rather too quick, this at the daily plan and a life plan, how we should be, what the art of right living. Today evening, as you all know, we are going to have this very interesting topic of what? Love makes the world go round. And morning 9:30 to 10:30 at Krishnalaya, a talk exclusively for men. What am I going to talk? I will tell you over there. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ। श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।